Hello there. Welcome to the How to Market Your Horse Business podcast. I'm so glad you're joining me here today. As you've likely guessed by now, my name is Denise Alvarez. I am your host, and I get the pleasure and honor of hosting you here each week to talk all the marketing things for your horse business. And before we dive into today's topic of the customer journey, I'm going to quickly introduce myself just in case we're new friends, and then we'll dive right in. Now, as I said, my name is Denise, and through my business, Storm Lily Marketing, I get to help dream-chasing horse business owners like yourself to ditch the marketing overwhelm, get the clarity you've been craving, and grow your business in a way that meets your definition of success. Now, I do this primarily through business coaching and then education, such as this podcast, and I have some online learning resources as well. All the things that I do, friends, is so that you as an equestrian entrepreneur can be out doing what you love to do, whether you're in the barn, in the arena, the round pen, behind the camera, behind the lens, in your gear maker's workshop, wherever you are, I want to help you do more of those things. And so here on the podcast, you will get a mix of step-by-step strategies, essential how-tos, and entrepreneurial mindset shifts that will help you to not only see what's possible for your business, but I'm also here to guide you through that process so you can make it happen. And today we're going to do that by way of creating an unforgettable customer journey. Because oftentimes what happens when equestrian entrepreneurs dive into marketing is they jump right to the sale and thinking that marketing is just the part of getting people to buy. From in-person conversations at events and expos to social media posts, ads, and more, the big question becomes, why aren't people buying? And that's a valid question, and that's often what people think marketing is, getting to the sale. But what happens is you have failed to remember that the purchase, the sale, is just one piece of the larger puzzle for your customers. And marketing is more than just selling. As one client told me on a coaching call recently, marketing is everything. Now, that's not meant to be overwhelming. Instead, I want you to feel empowered because that means you have the opportunity to craft marketing that's effective. And the more you understand what that means in your business, the better you can market your horse business well. And so that's why we're talking about the customer journey today, because it's not just the point of selling, it's their entire experience with you. And if you want to build a sustainable equine business, you have to remember there's an entire journey that customers will go through as they come into your world and as they work with you. And so in this episode, you're going to learn the difference between a customer journey and a buyer's journey. It's not the same thing. You're going to learn 3 phases of every customer journey, 3 tips for creating an unforgettable customer journey, and then I'm going to show you how to craft the best customer journey for your horse business. All right, so this is definitely one you're going to want to take notes on. So if you don't have a notepad handy, I want you to go to the show notes or save this episode so that you can get to the show notes. It's episode number 167. So if you just go to stormlily.com/167, you will get directly to the show notes. And so you'll see a highlight of this episode in case you're not able to take notes. And I have a free resource I'm going to be sharing with you, and you'll get a link there on the show notes for that free resource as well. I'm not going to tell you yet what it is. I want to get to that point before not overwhelm you. My goal is never to overwhelm you. But before I give you that information, we're going to do some of these other essential elements first. Okay? All right, so let's dive in. What is the difference between a customer journey and a buyer's journey? They are not the same thing. Now, you may remember me breaking down the buyer's journey for you in a previous episode. And if you've not listened to that, I will have this link in the show notes as well. But in episode number 123, I talked about how to get more sales on social media when you create content like this. And I broke down the buyer's journey and how you can create social media content for every phase of the buyer's journey. Now, that is to get more sales. That's 100% a part of marketing. The buyer journey is the process that people go through from the first time they hear about you until they become a client or customer. Now, the buyer journey essentially stops at the point of sale. Okay, so that's how I want you to think about it, is that very first, that pre-purchase part until they make the sale, that's the buyer's journey. The customer journey looks at lifetime value, okay? So the buyer journey is the beginning of their journey with you as a customer. It's important to understand it 100%. Today, we're looking at your customer journey because I want you to be focused on lifetime value of customers, not just the one and done sale. And so that's where the customer journey comes in. Now, why does this matter so much? Let's think about it in terms of, again, your copy or your marketing. It affects your website copy, your social media content, how and where you advertise, in-person conversations, what happens after the sale, transactional experiences. All of those things are impacted when you understand and strategize the customer journey for your horse business. Now, one key thing I want you to understand here is that your customer journey is more circular than it is linear. Meaning these people, these customers, are going to be in your world for a while and they may go around the circle of the customer journey because you may have multiple products they're going to buy from you. And you may have new offers that come up. They may revisit your store, and what happens in between those visits is a part of the customer journey. So there are phases of the customer journey, but it doesn't mean there are steps that are not repeated, if that makes sense. It's more circular, if that's a good way to visualize it. Okay. Now, there are 3 phases that I'm going to share with you of the customer journey, and this is true for every customer. It's also true whether you sell services or products or both. I know some of you are doing both. It's also true whether you have a business that meets people in person or you're focused on online sales. Either way, these 3 phases are going to be the customer journey that people experience with you. All right, so let's dive in. Here are the 3 phases and the things I want you to consider as a part of the customer journey and strategizing the customer journey. Because whether you're intentional about it or not, the customer journey exists. So my goal here is to open up your eyes to that and give you the tools that you need to be strategic about that customer journey and make the most of it and use it to help build your business. All right, let's dive in. The very first phase of the customer journey is pre-purchase. That means everything that happens before they buy. Pre is before, and it means all the things. So let me give you some elements that you're going to consider in this stage of the customer journey. Lead generation. How are people getting into your circle? How are they hearing about you? How are they landing on your website? Do you know where your traffic is coming from? What are the sources for people getting to your website? And the beautiful thing is there are ways to discover that. That's part of the search engine optimization side of things. And I have an episode on that. I'll link to it in the show notes. But knowing your traffic sources can be extremely helpful in creating an unforgettable customer journey. Social media content is part of that pre-purchase process. I know many of you, when I talk to you, you say that they landed in your sphere because you first connected with them on social media. Email newsletter is another pre-purchase process. What I want you to remember is that when we use those lead magnets, like we've talked about here on the podcast, to build your email list and get them into your sphere, into your circle, and when you regularly and consistently serve them with an email newsletter, that can be a really powerful way to make the most of this pre-purchase phase. YouTube videos is another part of the pre-purchase. We talked most recently on the podcast last week, actually, about YouTube, and that can be a part of the pre-purchase process. It may be articles that you write, places that you are showcasing your expertise. Maybe you're presenting at an event or an expo. Maybe you're putting on a clinic and someone has come not paid to be there, but say they've paid to be at the event, but not necessarily paid just because of you. They're not your buying customer yet, but they are consuming information from you. They're getting to know you and learn from you. That's part of that pre-purchase process. If it's a physical location that you have, then time spent in your store can actually be part of that. Just because they walk in the door doesn't mean they're a buyer yet. And so making the most of that experience when they come into your store or when they're on your website, making the most of that experience before they ever become a buyer. Those are just some, okay, of the elements that can happen in that pre-purchase phase that I want you to think strategically about. Now, before I dive in, I realize that I'm giving you a lot of information and things to think about. And so let me just give you a word of encouragement if I can. Okay. This is my coaching hat that I'm putting on because I'm seeing this list and I'm realizing that some of you might be thinking, Denise, I am one person. I cannot do all of these things and make it unforgettable in all these places. And let me just remind you that is never my encouragement to you, and that's never my hope for you, because I do not want to guide you to a place of burnout. I want to guide you to a place of having a thriving equine business. And so my encouragement to you is, as you listen, pull out the things that stand out to you. Pull out the things where you go, I'm already there and active, so what's one thing I can do to up-level that experience? Or let me just write down, I had forgotten that social media is a part of that. Let me just write this down. I had forgotten that when people come into the store, I can make that an experience. Let me just write that down. So as you hear me list things that are part of these phases of the customer journey, let me just encourage you that I am not listing it to say you need to be doing all of these things at the utmost level. Instead, as you hear me list, I want you to listen for things that stand out to you, that are aha moments, and write those down. And that's it. That's all I want for you in this specific segment. Okay. So this list is not meant to be a to-do list. Okay. It's meant to be an idea list, an inspiration list, an aha list where you can hear it and realize, okay, I have some places where I can improve, because every one of us have places in our business where we can improve. Okay, I'll take that coaching hat back off, but I just wanted to encourage you with that before we keep going, because this is a list and I wanted you to hear the heart behind the list. Okay, all right, let's dive in, or get back to it, I should say. We've been diving in. Let's get back to it. So our second phase. So number one, we have pre-purchase. The second phase is the consumption phase. This is the part where they are actually buying. And what happens oftentimes is people think it's just the transaction, but it's more than that. The consumption phase of your customer's journey is very important, and it's more than just when they pay. So elements to consider here would be the product. So this is the time I want you to think about, what are they consuming? Is it quality in the first place? Is it easy to access? If you're providing something digitally, if you have a membership, if you have a digital course, if you have a free resource, we're talking paid, sorry. If you have a paid resource, maybe it is at your store. Is it easy to find things? Easy to access can be a key part of making the buyer's journey unforgettable. Also easy to navigate. How many of you have become a member of like a membership online, and then you got in and you had to watch an entire tutorial video just to figure out how to access the things? Now, if you have a membership and you have a how-to tutorial video, kudos to you. That's a good thing. Guide people 100%. But sometimes we haven't taken a step back to make sure that before we even create that tutorial, have we set up things in a way that's easy and makes sense? Have we created categories or collections for our content to make it easy for them to consume and find what they need? Have we created a success path to guide them along the way? So yes, the tutorial is awesome if you do that. I'm not discounting that. What I'm saying is, have you taken an overall look at things to get a full perspective and make it easy to access and easy to navigate? Also, as you look at the buying process, think about it from the customer's perspective as they go through the purchase process. When's the last time you sat down as a customer and experienced what it's like to walk through making a purchase? Think about, are there a lot of steps? Are there forms they're having to fill out that could be simpler, or have fewer options, or there's fewer clicks, or are there lots of places they have to make a decision? Maybe they're walking away from that because they have a little bit of buyer's overwhelm. What are ways that you can simplify that checkout process in person or online? And then the other thing I want you to consider is the experience with your team. In that buying process, when people are at the expo or at the event and they're working with your team members, what are the ways that you're making that experience a good experience? Because that's part of the journey. When it's online and they're having a problem, they reach out for support. Do they get support easily? Is it easy to find the help that they need? The other element to consider in the buying process is delivery of materials. Again, this could be online or I want to say in person, but it could be physical or digital. Let's say it that way. When we're talking about delivery, it could be digital delivery. How's it landing in their email inbox? Is it easy to find, easy to understand, easy to take action? How's it landing in their mailbox if you're delivering physical materials? Is the packaging memorable? Are you putting handwritten thank you note inside? You don't have to. I'm just giving you ideas of things to consider, okay? The delivery of materials is so much more than just delivering materials. You can make that an unforgettable experience. And then I want you to consider communication with you as the service provider. For many of you, you are the one that's booking the clients. You're going through the scheduling process with them, which is another part of this buying process. Is it easy to schedule appointments? Or are they going back and forth with you saying, this time works? No, that doesn't work for me. How about this day? No, that doesn't work for me. Is there a way you can simplify just that part of things? As the service provider, what does that process look like as they communicate with you? Is it simple? Is it easy? Is it frustrating? These are all questions I want you to consider as you think about the buying phase or the consumption phase. All right. Okay. Next, we have the last phase of the customer journey, which is post-purchase. So they've made the purchase, you have the money. What happens now? What does that look like from a customer journey perspective? Oftentimes what happens is people are forgotten about after the money, and that's how they feel. They feel it was a one and done transaction and now that's it. But as an equestrian business owner, you have the opportunity to make this an unforgettable experience, which is going to help them to tell their friends, give you great referrals, and it's also going to keep them coming back. And so how do we do that? Here are some elements to consider. Do they have ongoing communication with you? Once they've made the purchase, what does that relationship look like when it comes to you? Perhaps it means you're doing check-ins. Maybe you're calling after a couple of weeks to check in on them. Perhaps it means that you're sending out a regular newsletter that's going to customers, both past, current, and potential. Or perhaps you have two separate newsletters, one that is clients only and one that is potential clients only. That's an option. It's not a requirement. It's just an option, okay? But what does that ongoing communication look like with you and your team? Are you asking for reviews? This is part of the post-purchase experience that I will tell you for a while, I had forgotten about the need to do this. And somebody else asked me to do it. And I was like, oh, that's good. I should be doing that. That's what I mean. We all have ways to improve. But are you asking for them to go leave you a quick review on Google if they had a great experience, or go to Facebook and leave a review? That can be part of that post-purchase process. What about a feedback questionnaire? Do you know what their experience was like with you? Now, as I say feedback questionnaire, I'm thinking about when I make a call to somewhere where I owe a bill, or if I'm calling my credit card company with a question, or, oftentimes they'll say, would you like to stay until the end and take our 2-minute survey? And the reason they do that, even though it can be really annoying, is because it works. It's helpful. You cannot improve what you do not know about. And you cannot pat people on the back and say, good job, when you don't know about it either. And so feedback questionnaires, simple 2 and 3 questions, but understand their experience with you, how you can improve on what they enjoyed or didn't enjoy, is so valuable. So look at ways you can incorporate getting feedback as a part of the post-purchase phase. The other thing to think about in this post-purchase is, how are you engaging with them in other spheres that is not the newsletter? When you see them in person, are you engaging with them? Do you remember them? Do you remember something about their family, perhaps, that you've written down in your notes? Okay, I'm not asking you to be a master memorizer, but get intentional about taking notes about people. And then when you see them, you can recall that information. Are you engaging with them on social media, for example? Has that conversation continued, or were you utilizing social media just to get the sale? And then once the sale is over, they never hear from you again. And then think about the larger community aspect of your business. Now that they are a customer, are they maybe a part of your community now? Do you have open houses and you're inviting your customers to come and they get to feel like they're a part of something bigger than just a transaction between you and them? It's a part of a community, an inner circle. That can be another really great way to bring people in, help them to continue to stay around, build that customer lifetime value, and get them to invite others as a part of the process, which is that last note for you, which is referrals. Think about how after those have had a good experience with you, you can invite them to refer their friends and their family. Maybe you're going to give them something in exchange. There's a ton of different referral programs out there, and I'll probably do a podcast episode here in the near future about referrals, but just consider that as a part of the post-purchase phase. All right, so we talked about pre-purchase, consumption, and post-purchase. Those are the 3 phases of every customer journey. And I want you to look at it as circular, okay? So now that you know that, what do we do with that information? Now I want to give you 3 tips to create an unforgettable customer journey. So again, if you have your notepad, grab it for the ideas that are going to come to mind. But other than that, head to the show notes, stormlily.com/167 for episode number 167. I will have these 3 tips outlined for you there. So the first tip to creating an unforgettable customer journey is to live out your company values. Now, the first element in my Take the Reins coaching program, we walk through a framework I've created, and that first part is audience, really knowing your audience. And immediately after the audience, our next call is to build out the vision and the mission and the tagline and the core values for your business. Because these things truly, when done well, should lead and guide your cohesive marketing strategy. And so then we have a filter for decision making, and we have a guide to direct every step of the marketing process. So if you're saying, Denise, okay, live out your values, your business values, I don't have that, that's okay. I'm going to give you a really scrappy way to make it happen right now. Okay. So this is your first step, as a reminder to you. So what I want you to do is write down the 3 words that you want to be known for in your business. Okay. These are your 3 core values. These are the things that are going to come from the heart of who you are as a business owner. As the founder of your business, you get to set this. These will be the drivers for what you do and the experience that you want people to have with your business throughout every phase of their customer journey. So these words are going to be descriptors of how somebody would say, when I worked with Jane Smith, she was so blank. And that blank, your goal is to have it filled in with a word that is as close as possible to the core values that you have set. She was so kind. She was so knowledgeable. She was so whatever the case may be. She loves to build connection. I love being a part of her community. Whatever it is, there are so many words that it could be. But as you identify your 3 core values, then what I want you to do is make sure it is trained as you bring on new people to your team, as you build your business. And you may have people on your team right now. So this will be a step for you in your leadership to say, hey, I sat down and I realized these are the core values of our business. I've been leading with them, but I haven't really sat down and made it clear. And maybe that's the case. And maybe for some of you, you're saying, Denise, I haven't really thought of it this way. And so I'm just going to sit down and identify now and move forward. And that's okay too. Either way, whether you feel like you've been living out certain words or you're like, I've been a bit haphazard, but these are the words I want people to experience when they work with us. Either way, sit down and write those. Train the people that are around you, your assistants, your customer service team, anyone who's working front-facing with customers. But also what's going to happen is these words are going to guide your team. And so it's going to guide the interaction they have with each other as well. And when you live those out, I guarantee it is going to impact and up-level the customer experience and the customer journey in all 3 phases. Because again, if you think about, let me give you a practical example, which that's one of the ones I wanted to tell you about. So the word practical for me is a core value at Storm Lily Marketing. The podcast, my goal is to make marketing a very practical and actionable, make the resource, let me say that better. My goal is to make the podcast a practical and actionable resource for you. And also, my email newsletters, I'm looking to help you bring I'm helping you, holy smokes, friends. Let's say that again. See, I'm leaving this in here. I'm not editing that out because I want everybody to understand that we all have moments. We have to have grace for ourselves, and then we just clear it up and move forward. So those of you who have been afraid to go Facebook Live, YouTube videos, whatever, because you're afraid to mess it up, Here's your permission. It's going to happen. It's okay. So let me say this again. In my email newsletters, practical is the driver. I want to give you practical help to market your horse business, whether I'm sharing what I'm learning, whether I'm sharing a new podcast episode, a resource of mine, or a resource I've learned about. It's practical help. And so everything I do when I'm on coaching calls and I'm saying, hey, I want you to be tracking this data. Hey, here's a dashboard. It's super simple and practical and easy to use. And I create that for them. So practical for me is a core value because I want to give you practical help and make it practically doable. Okay, so that kind of gives you an example of how to live out your values, and that experience is what they get. So even on social media, if you go to my social media content, you're going to see practical help, and that's because that's a core value of mine. Okay, so number 1, live out your values. The next tip I have for you to create an unforgettable customer journey is to prioritize people. Now, I had a prior guest on this podcast who said, horses don't write the checks. I'm in the people business. And I thought that was brilliant. And it's a good thing for people to remember because oftentimes in the horse world, you think, I'm not here for the people, I'm here for the horses. And the reality is, even if you're working directly with horses, if you're a trainer, you're a body worker, you're a farrier, whatever the case may be, you're in the people business because horses don't write the checks. And so you get to prioritize people as you craft your customer journey. I'm pulling out a quote here from an author, and I haven't yet read his book. It is on my list. So I'm going to recommend it to you, even though I haven't read it yet, because I have heard him on multiple podcasts at this point, and he's really great business entrepreneur, owner, coach. And he says, you're not just selling someone a service, you're serving a person. And that changes the way you do the work. His book is called Unreasonable Hospitality, and he built up this amazing restaurant through this philosophy. Many people would think with a restaurant, it's just selling, food, but it's not. He's like, you're serving a person. And so the same for you. You're not just selling someone a service, you are serving a person. And when you look at it that way, as you look at the customer journey and you think about individual people, that's going to change the way that you do the work. Now, this is really good news for those of you who have told me, Denise, I don't really love selling. I just actually kind of hate it. I've heard more than one person say that because this author, his name's Will, I think his last name's Guidera, if I'm saying it correctly. He also said, success in business comes when you make the choice to pursue relationships. Now, again, when you look at it from his perspective, he's saying that as a restaurateur, like as a restaurant person, right? He's saying that relationships are the key to success for your business. And so that's how you make the sale, is really thinking about the people and building a relationship around that. So when you're looking at that customer journey, I don't want you to think about the mass numbers. I want you to think about that individual experience. And as you prioritize that, you will create an unforgettable customer journey. All right, friends, the last tip that I have for you is to get creative. Unforgettable does not have to mean it costs a lot of money. It just means that it makes an impression. It stands out in their mind. And so here's a non-horse example I want to give you. I love to give you equine business examples, but this one came to mind as I was thinking about get creative. I live here in Missouri, born and raised here in Missouri, and I'm from Southeast Missouri, where we have a famous restaurant there called Lambert's. Some of you, if you have driven through Southern Missouri, may have seen some of the signs because it says home of throwed rolls. Because literally, you are at your table eating, and there is somebody walking through the restaurant going, hot rolls, and they are throwing across the room hot rolls. And you get to catch your own hot roll. They are delicious, they are huge, and they are hot. And it is memorable. It is unforgettable. When I take somebody to Lambert's, or when I tell someone about Lambert's, they get excited about going because it's completely unique and it's unforgettable. And so for you and your business, let that be a reminder to you. You can take something you're already doing and just change it a little bit and make that part of what you already do unforgettable. There's tons of restaurants that serve bread or hot rolls with the meal, but they're doing it in a unique way. And so what are the things you're already doing that you can change and get creative about to make it unique and unforgettable? It might mean that you send a handwritten note. And these days, I know those seem to be all but forgotten. Or maybe it is a call to your customer. Maybe you actually pick up the phone. You're not just texting and you give them a call. Or if maybe your people like to text, maybe it's a surprising text. Maybe it's sending a digital gift card. Maybe it's just checking in to see how things are going because they've already paid that you didn't have to, but you care. If you're a breeder, what if you sent a welcome baby type of gift when your client's new foal is born? Some special treats for the mom, that type of thing, right? The mom horse, right? The mare. Look at the creative ways that you could have fun with that. For me, I send video messages to my clients when I'm checking in with them or when I'm sending them feedback. So it's coaching clients. And so often they will send me something they're working on and ask for feedback. And that's part of the benefit of the monthly coaching program is you get that support in between calls. And so rather than just shooting a text back or a message back, I do a video. And what I love about that is they can hear my voice and hear that I am encouraging them in the hard work that they have been doing. And I get to share my screen and walk them through the feedback. And more than one client has told me that as I've done that, how much they appreciate that personal touch and being able to hear in my voice that I truly am cheering for them and care for them in their business. So it does not have to cost a lot of money. It just has to be something you do intentionally. Now, I want to encourage you though, creativity doesn't typically just happen. You have to give yourself some time and space to intentionally come up with new ideas. Now, as you've been listening to this episode, I bet you've had one or two ideas that have come up. And I want to invite you to talk to your team members. Ask them, what are some ways that you see we can improve the journey? What are some ways we can creatively make it unforgettable? Which brings me to the free resource I mentioned to you at the beginning of the episode. This is a simple yet powerful tool because it does exactly that. It's going to give you the space and the intention to review your existing customer journey and then to look for ways that you can make it unforgettable. Revamp it, update it, up-level, take action, because that's the magic, right? So if you will go to stormlily, LILY.com/journey, you're going to get a free worksheet. It is simple. Like I just told you, it is a simple tool, yet a powerful tool, because sometimes what stops us from taking action on things is knowing where to start. And so I'm telling you exactly where to start with this episode. Go get this worksheet. And then now I'm going to walk you through 3 steps. So have you noticed 3, 3, and 3? I gave you 3 parts of the journey. I gave you 3 tips. And now I'm going to give you 3 steps for up-leveling your customer journey. All right. So get your worksheet, print it out, and you're actually going to make 2 copies of the worksheet. Okay. And so what I want you to do, step 1, I want you to highlight the current customer journey. Now, for this particular exercise, I want you to do it as a whole. You could definitely dive in terms of thinking about specific products. So, for example, if you have a membership, I encourage you at one time or another to sit down and think about your customer's journey just when it comes to the membership. How are they coming in? What's the experience like? What's it like afterwards? You can do this for a specific product. But in this instance, at this moment, I want you to think broad and think about your business as a whole. So write down, what are the ways they're coming into your sphere? What is that pre-purchase experience like right now? And then I want you to do that for each phase of the journey, okay? For the current existing customer journey. Next, I want you to get the second sheet you printed out. And now I want you to think of the ideal customer journey. What would it look like if you started over? What would it look like if your dream scenario happened? Just allow yourself to think big and think creatively. And then do that on your second page. And then your third step is to identify one thing, okay? Focus right now on one thing that you can do to take action to take your customer journey from the way it is to the way you want it to be. Okay. What's one thing you can do now to make the customer journey unforgettable? And again, if you have a team, this is a great exercise to do with your team because they may think of things that you cannot. But if you are a solopreneur and you're doing it on your own, I get that 100%. I do it as well. I've done it as well. If you want to do a clarity coaching call to talk about your customer journey, I would love to do that with you. I'll make sure that that is linked in the show notes. Those are just 60-minute coaching calls available to any equestrian entrepreneur who wants to get a bit more clarity on something specific. So we could definitely talk about that. But I want you to do these 3 steps and then be intentional to come back to it. So calendar in 30 days, customer journey check-in. Okay, we've done this. We've implemented this. What's the next thing that we can do to implement and up-level the customer journey? And then 30 days later, you're going to do it again. And then maybe you're going to just put on your calendar a quarterly check-in. But I want you to always be paying attention to and evaluating the customer journey because what often happens as we build something and then we add to it, and then we add to it, and we add to it, and we never step back and evaluate, gosh, this got a little muddy. We've added a lot of steps and we need to come back in and clean things up. And that's normal. Okay, that's very normal for a growing business. And so what I want to encourage you to do is intentionally set aside some time every quarter or annually to look at the customer journey and see if we can make it smoother, simpler, and more unforgettable. Okay? All right, so go grab that worksheet, stormlily, LILY.com/journey, and then get to that 3rd step, okay? Do not skip that. What's the one thing you're going to take action on to make your customer journey unforgettable? And I want to hear about it, okay? So send me a message. Find me on social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook both as Storm Lily Marketing, or Facebook, I have How to Market Your Horse Business as well. But I want to hear from you guys. How are you taking action? What's the one thing that you're doing? And here's why. Let me give you one more coaching hat thing, okay? The beauty of coaching oftentimes is that accountability piece. And so for many equestrian entrepreneurs, you're making a promise to yourself that you're going to do something. And when you say it out loud to somebody else, then you automatically have increased the level of accountability, which increases the likelihood that you are actually going to follow through and do it. Okay. And so I want you to let me know what you're doing, and then I'm going to check back in with you. If you send me a message and tell me what you're doing, the action you're taking based off of this episode, I guarantee you I will send you a message and check in a month later and see how things are going. All right. So that's built-in accountability. All right, friends, I'm so glad you were here. I am pumped for this episode because I believe it has the power to really transform the way you do business and how you embrace the fact that you are a business owner. As an equestrian entrepreneur, you are not a hobbyist, you are a business owner. And this step will be transformative for you. Thank you so much for joining me here. If this helped you, I have one request besides sending me a message and telling me your action step. If this helped you, will you share it with a friend? Let someone else that you are building dreams with benefit from learning these things as well. And then you guys can help and encourage each other also. So share it on social media, share it with your friends. Let others know this is a practical resource for making marketing doable, effective, and impactful for your horse business. Thank you so much for joining me here, and I'll join you here again next week. Have an amazing day.